Welcome, everyone, to the last session of the day. Today we have great four panelists here, and we will really unpack the future of AI and what's happening today. The conference was just amazing, so I hope everybody enjoyed Satya's keynote, and you have been hearing a lot of things about this is coming, this is gonna be coming in the future, and what should I do? So in this panel, we will really unpack that. We will start with today, what has been announced in the last 2 days, and what's news between Microsoft, Intel all together. How do we bring AI everywhere? In the second part, we will go around a little bit deeper on the future. So what are we excited about, and how we can bring some of the future AI era together. And finally, we will end with some of the call to actions. And these are really going to be tactical, but it will be a great conversation. With that, I want to ask Saurabh to introduce himself, and then we will continue with the other panelists as well. Over to you.
Thank you, Nuri. So my name is Saurabh. I'm a principal engineer at Intel. I primarily focus on AI, spanning from PC clients all the way to data center. So over the course of last few years, I've helped pioneer NPU, the neural processing unit that you may have been hearing about. My team works very closely in getting Copilot realized on Intel platforms. So that's a very exciting place to be in. And also I've been working in writing low-level kernels, optimizing them for web-scale workloads coming from Bing. So a lot of search-related workloads that we have worked very closely with Bing team also on that front.
Awesome. Yeah, we will have a deep technical conversation. So over to you, Jeff.
Love to have.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Jeff Woolsey. I'm a principal program manager at Microsoft. I've been here over 21 years. I originally came over as part of the acquisition that delivered the team that created virtualization at Microsoft. I was the first program manager for virtualization at Microsoft. I've delivered Virtual Server way back when. Since then, I work in the CoreOS team. So in the CoreOS team, we're actually the team that builds the CoreOS components, such as the kernel, the storage stack, the network stack, the hypervisor, all of these components that go into Windows Server, into Windows Client, into Azure Stack HCI, into what's now Azure Local, as well as the Azure host that's running on millions of servers around the globe in Azure itself. So our CoreOS team actually builds all of those capabilities that are common across all of those.
Awesome. Over to you, Brian.
Thanks, Jeff. So Brian Rogers, nice to be here. Is everybody awake? Do we have our coffee for the end of the day? So I've been working here at Intel for 3.5 years. I've had a nice, colorful background from consulting to everything else, including working at Microsoft and IoT and Windows Embedded. And now here I get to work with the Azure folks, and we get to see all the new cool AI stuff coming. So it's a really exciting job for me, and I get to work with folks like this.
Hi, my name is Joe Sack. I'm the GPM for the SQL Server, SQL VM, Azure Arc, and Database Engine team. This is actually just recently, so I think my old title's on there because the last year I was focusing on Azure Copilot, specifically SQL. So we created a natural language to SQL interface, also integrated in some database administrator self-help skills. And now I have a team of 13 talented PMs that cover a lot of different areas. So
that's awesome. So I think we will cover really the latest announcements, and then really excited about Windows Server and SQL Server specifically, because before joining Intel, I was at Microsoft for 17 years, so some of you might know, but I'm super excited about the opportunities both from Intel side, but also on the Microsoft side. With that, I mean, AI is literally everywhere. You have seen in every sessions, that's the key thing. By 2030, it will be more than $1 billion just on Gen AI. So we believe 85% of the CXOs is going to invest on AI solutions on 2025. So this room should be ready with it. So, and I will really try to divide the conversation into different pieces. The first one is the PC. So I want to start with Saurabh on that one, because many of you heard about AI PCs and specifically Copilot Plus PCs on the Microsoft side, and we have been really partnering with, but let's maybe give the word to you, Saurabh, on how do you define the AI PC, and what's in it for the audience to know more about, and finally, what are we really partnering with Microsoft as Intel?
Absolutely. So there are quite a few different flavors of Copilot. You have heard of GitHub Copilot, there's M365 Copilot, and a few others. We primarily, when we say Copilot plus PC, what we're talking about is Windows Copilot. What is Windows Copilot now begins. It's a vision that Microsoft has laid out, and it's very inspiring for Intel to partner with it. We also strongly believe in bringing the power of AI, realize it into really solving real-world scenarios. So that's why we focus on real-world AI, accelerating it to make it happen. Now, besides the verbiage, what is it all about? It's about having a machine, interactions with the machine, which are natural, they are intuitive, and they are aware of what is going on your PC. This is a new revolutionized version of the PC that we've always loved, but this new PC has better battery life. It is running AI without having to be connected to the cloud. This is very important. You don't need to be on the network. You don't need to have very high cloud bills. You're able to run a lot of AI locally.
And I will just maybe unpack that one, because you mentioned the NPU in your introduction. So
Yeah.
for the audience, it's the neural processing unit, which is literally net new. Because when you dream about like any PC, it was just the central processing unit, just CPU is the brain. But now with the Core Ultra processors on the Copilot Plus PCs, we have the neural processing. And if you're into deep learning, you might remember, like that was in the deep learning, like how did it happen and end up in a PC world? That's the magic happens. So all the things that Saurabh mentioned, like we have all this capability, like chat, image generation, everything, and you will see amazing demos shortly. They are possible on the device because of the NPU and also GPU. So
Exactly.
maybe from there, like how did we partner with Microsoft on bringing that Copilot Plus PCs into market?
Yeah, that's a story really close to my heart. It started maybe 2017, 16, something on those lines. It started actually during Ignite itself. We booted the very first NPU in the industry. We laid foundation with Microsoft of what the software stack needs to look like, because the vision is really to ensure that we are able to have a scale that goes from your hand all the way to the cloud. You can run the largest models, the biggest models, without having to be connected or have a clunky piece of big hardware with powered external cables connected to it. So the essential, our experience is to use your thin client laptop and be able to run big, large data center class.
Shall we show a
workloads.
demo how it works?
There's nothing
Let-
better than that.
Exactly, exactly. I will just click and you will explain.
Absolutely. So what you're seeing right now is a recording of something that is running on your PC today. This is a new experience that Microsoft's been enlightening as part of your Copilot Plus. This is your Photos application. You're pretty much used to of seeing photos in your PC. This is powered by a machine learning model, and it is, as you can see, it's generating very good images on the fly. You have a prompt at the top which says, what kind of images we want generated, and you can see it's running really fast. And this is using the power of that neural processing unit that we talked about. That neural processing unit has specialized hardware targeting these models, the kind of models that are essential for your PC. And this is a fun scenario. There are a lot of others coming from the productivity space, from the gaming space, for video collaboration space, so your teams can use the NPU at lower power. So you're getting the power of AI without having to compromise your battery power. That's very important for us. And this next generation Lunar Lake device that we talk about a lot, this is really a revolutionary device which in some benchmarks is doubling the battery life for a day, number of hours that we can play. And it's really bringing the next generation capabilities of AI in your hands.
That's amazing, because as a developer by heart, like I always love to play with the models locally. And I think what you will experience on an AI PC is really you download the models, like the Llama's latest model, which now you can run like locally, which is a big thing. So like, again, like there is small language models. I think Satya mentioned it a couple of times on the keynote. Beyond the large language models, I think the small language models are critical for the technical audiences to understand. And again, working that in this like private and confidential environment is just amazing. So it boosts all the possibilities, and I think everyone wants to get one of the devices. And at the end, we will tell you how to get one free tomorrow from the Intel booth. So with that, I want to jump, I think this is great to cover on the client side. But specifically, Jeff, I know there has been a lot of moving to data center side, huge announcements on the Windows Server side. So do you want to unpack, what did we disclose in the last 2 days?
It's been a huge week. Really excited about all of the announcements. The big one I'm going to start right off the bat, of course, is the availability of Windows Server 2025. This is a release that's been in the works for years, and it's culminating in this release. And it's literally just chock full of features. Delivered a session earlier this week with my VP. The room was completely filled, standing room only. We had to turn people away. I hate it when that happens. Felt really bad about that. But people, the excitement is genuine. And there is so much delivered in Windows Server 2025, whether it's running it in the cloud, whether it's running on premises, or like most customers, they really want that hybrid experience. We delivered in spades in Windows Server 2025. A couple of things to point out. I mean, hot patching. Everybody cannot get enough of hot patching, and they're excited that we're delivering hot patching and enabling it anywhere, whether it's on-prem. And in fact, I'll tell you an interesting use case for hot patching is SQL Server on physical machines. What I've run into is, yes, people have virtualized a lot of their infrastructure and things like that, but there's still a class of customer out there that says, no, Jeff, I've got like 4, I've got like 8 servers. These are SQL servers. They're massive scale-up machines. They are filled to the brim with cores, high-speed networking, and terabyte of RAM, 4 terabytes of RAM, okay? People don't realize when you got a machine that large, to reboot it, that's like a half an hour. Okay, 4 terabytes of RAM, go get some coffee, folks. It's going to be a while. And so when you have to reboot that every month, you've got to take that into account. Well, with hot patching now, you're basically rebooting instead of once a month, once a quarter. So now all of a sudden, those folks running those big scale-up SQL on bare metal are like, oh my gosh, I only have to reboot my cluster once a quarter. So hot patching has been huge. Obviously, another big one has been GPU partitioning, and we want to, we're taking full advantage of the fact that, customers want to do AI in lots of different ways. They want to be able to take advantage of acceleration in the processors. So Intel's delivered AI acceleration in the processors. We love it. We'll take full advantage of it. It's awesome. Then there are some cases where folks say, you know what, I really do need a GPU. And so we can partition a GPU now on your server. It does need Sapphire Rapids or later, but you can partition your GPUs and you get full live migration. You get full high availability. I've demoed it a number of times this week, but it's just amazing because people want to be able to do AI. They want to be able to do it on premises. They want to be able to do it in the cloud. And they want to be able to have the flexibility to do where it makes sense for them. And one of the important points that I always have to remind people is we want you to be successful wherever you need to be successful. And with Windows Server 2025, we'll meet you where you're at, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's most likely hybrid. And so there's a lot of new features and capabilities. Then the other big announcement this week was Azure Local. So what we're delivering now is, a lot of people said, is this like just a rebrand of Stack HCI? Is that what's going on here? It's actually a bit more than that. We are taking, what used to be an Azure Stack family, and you're going to see it really collapsing into one brand of Azure Local, and we're going to delivering lots more. We're doubling down on some of the on-premises capabilities. So you can run disconnected, for example, which has been a top request, so that you can deliver Azure services like Azure Virtual Desktop on premises, and you're going to see us continue to expand that. So a lot going on in the on-prem world, a lot going on in the hybrid world, and we are excited by, I got to tell you personally, I'm really excited about Xeon 6. I'm excited about what this processor delivers in terms of cores, in terms of memory bandwidth, in terms of PCIe, in terms of AI acceleration. Love it, and 2025 is ready to go for Xeon 6.
That's awesome news. So really excited about the new features. Before handing over to Brian, majority of the discussions today in the AI world are happening at the training level. So all these models like GPTs of the world needs more power, but many of enterprise customers, they actually need inferencing, and that's where I think the Windows Server comes into play. Many of our customers will definitely benefit from having that on their premise, and also we will unpack the cloud side, but also on the cloud, because when the inferencing happens with the acceleration, that's a lot of cost saving, but also the implementation will be fast and quick. With that,
Can I give you a quick
Please.
example of that real quick?
That
You
would be great.
just kind of set me up for this one. We have a customer, a public case study. They are a manufacturer. They have 150 sites around the world. Okay. Before they adopted Azure Stack HCI, every location was like its own bespoke stuff. It was North America, South America, Australia, Europe, Asia. They're all over the place. And everyone had their own IT team. They all had different hardware. It was all managed differently. In some of the larger sites, they may have some enterprise class management, but in the smaller sites, it was kind of bespoke automation. It was completely random. They switched to and standardized on Stack HCI. And what they ended up doing was deploying 3 servers in every location. Now, these are beefy servers. They put dozens of cores in each. I think each server has like somewhere on the order of 256 to 512 gigs of RAM. But they did this on purpose. They said there's plenty of headroom for growth. So they put a 3-node cluster in every one of these 150 sites. One of the reasons why they're doing it is inferencing at the edge. Because for this manufacturing, they're actually connecting to 60-year-old hardware. 60-year-old manufacturing hardware that is brutal to manage. And if it goes down, if it overheats, if it stops working, they've lost millions of dollars in just a few minutes. Okay, so for them, they need to do predictive analytics. They need to be monitoring all sorts of aspects of the hardware and to make sure that it just continues to run flawlessly. And on the factory floor, you can actually see they're doing analytics live and monitoring right there of all the hardware, and so they can prevent any sort of failures. And for the first time ever, they can manage it all 150 sites they can see in the Azure portal. They've never had this before. Wow. So they can see 150 sites running from around the world. They then take those analytics that they're doing at each of those 150 sites. They will do a whole bunch of processing locally at the edge. They will take a fraction of it, not all of it, because there's actually a ton of data that they're getting at every node. They'll take a fraction of it, say 10% of it, send that up to the cloud. Send that up to the cloud from all 150 sites, do analysis on this in the cloud, and then push down an updated model to all 150. That is extremely powerful when you're talking about AI at the edge, better cloud management, consistent management. They can actually see everything is running securely, all of their apps are healthy, and for the first time ever, they have visibility to their entire manufacturing digital estate. It's very powerful.
Absolutely, and I will break the order. I will go to Joe because when we think about hybrid AI is a big thing. So, and I think it's going to be even bigger, especially your data as a company is the most valuable asset that you should protect. And in the world of AI, you cannot just let some public data analyzers to get your data as a training model. So you have to keep that in a secure, private, and confidential way where the hybrid AI becomes a reality, because you have to connect to still the data. And there was great announcements on the SQL side.
Yes.
Maybe I will jump to you because of that reason, and maybe if you can add the Arc color, what we get out of the Azure Arc announcements, that would be great.
Absolutely. So this week we announced SQL Server 2025 private preview, and you can sign up for it at aka.ms. It's SQL EAP sign up, and I'll remind it at the end as well. And regarding, you're absolutely right, regarding on-prem, we have a lot of AI needs where people can't have the data leave the trust boundary. And in order for that to be achieved, we need to store vector data. And so part of this announcement for 2025 is we're enabling a native vector data type. And we're also including a lot of the intrinsic functions that you need to build an AI app. So that includes the ability to embed, to define a model, and that model can point to all kinds of different sources. So it could be local on your network, it could be Azure OpenAI. You define the model, you can use it to embed incoming prompts, you can use it for retrieval augmented generation, so I want to find relevant content. We have this vector data co-located with the SQL Server that you know and love, so that means that when I'm doing searches, it's hybrid searches. So I can say something like, and I'm property searches in real estate, for example, I can say 3-bedroom, 3-bath, and then a sunny, airy feel. And that sunny, airy feel might be based on a vector embedding. So something that's more of a subjective, semantic type search. And so we're also including a lot of intrinsic functions around cosine search, the ability to find it at scale, disk ANN, A lot of different technologies built into the engine, and again, not having to leave that trust boundary. So it's with SQL servers, Query Optimizer, security model, to the point of Azure Arc. So where does this fit in? A couple of things that we announced yesterday. The first being that Azure Arc, being your pane of glass, whether you have something on-prem or in another cloud, we are also going to have a pane of glass to look at your model management. One thing, anybody who's done an AI app before, you know it's moving fast. So I might have model 1, then model 2, and then, oop, that model's too expensive. Let's go to something that's faster and a little bit less expensive. So you're having to rotate out models. It becomes a sprawl very quickly. For Azure Arc, we will provide a pane that says, okay, for your 2025 SQL Server instances, here are the models that are in use. Here's the activity associated with them. Here's how you can provision new models, use security associated with it. We're actually going to use Azure Arc to allow managed identities to do outbound security. So I can use managed identities for the actual Azure OpenAI connectivity. So it was a big day yesterday, and I'm not even mentioning all of like the standard stuff that we always add with each version of SQL Server, but that's the AI-related stuff.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
I think combining those Windows and SQL announcements, like it's really making sure the enterprise environment is ready for the AI era. With that, Brian, like, I mean, you have been working with Microsoft closely on the Intel side to make this happen. So can you a little bit share like your experience, and also like what do we have in the market, especially on the Azure side?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat this crowd here. So, but Azure is definitely doing it. We're coming up on the top, and we're doing a lot of work across the board. So when we look at Azure right now, we have in public preview, which is our V6 instances, which that's based on our Emerald Rapids Generation 5. We're excited to push AMX with this. So AMX is our advanced matrix extensions, basically, and what that allows for is your convolutional neural networks or your multiplication tables to be done really fast at the CPU. This is cool. It gets you up and going. So we as Intel have gone through the tool chains in market, some of the primary chains that you would use to do your inferencing work, including like the Onyx runtime, and made sure that Onyx runtime and other inferencing models or inferencing tools will be able to take your model and leverage what's on that now. So it's a free boost. If you're not ready to go and commit 100% to a GPU, or even if you're fully into GPU today, but boy, I want to take an additional and I want to push it down to other servers at a lower cost price, this is a great opportunity. So we're doing that now. The other exciting part is what I didn't hear from you guys, security.
Yeah. I was going to say, we got to get to that.
All right, let's get to the security part a little bit.
The frame that Satya puts on top. So you just edit that frame to this conversation.
So, what we're excited to see is that Azure is going forward in this public preview with our TME, which is total memory encryption. This is memory encrypted at rest, not in flight, not to be confused with Azure Confidential Computing. But we're super excited to see that, because that means that you're even more protected now in the Azure environment, and that's for free. So the good thing is you won't know it's turned on, it just is. So this is baked into the goodness. Super excited about that, super excited working with everybody to go and take a leverage of that, and then we're still seeing the performance being what we would expect, which is very good. And we got more layer 3 cache in the Emerald Rapids, so you're seeing a lot more speeds and feeds, all that good stuff that's coming up. So super happy there. And then we do and are working with, and we did an initial public preview of our TDX instances, and we're waiting now, going through some more details, making sure they're totally up and ready to go, but TDX is coming, and that is basically your migration. So you take your VM as it is, a general purpose, and then you can start doing encryption. So you're going to get security here very soon that's easy to use, and it's going to be scalable for you. So security is going to be a big thing. Why this all matters, let me tie a bow on a little bit of that, right? AI security, almost free, right? Whoa, almost free. So we have like SGX today. So SGX is out there for you in the Azure Confidential Computing. What we're excited to see though is when TDX comes out, you'll be able to do TDX and AMX together. That means you're going to get your secure VMs with acceleration. So this is going to be really cool. So that's kind of where we're at now.
That's just amazing, especially if you're wondering like what's enterprise AI this is really the whole story. So I try to break it into the parts, but like really, if you look at the client side, so the enterprise customers, they really want AI at the fingerprints of, like again, like I mean, on the PC itself, and AI at the edge. We will come that. So I was just planning like, shall I cover it now? But let's cover it on the next maybe part. But also on the data centers, I think like Jeff mentioned, all the value that Windows Server brings, and as Intel, we provide all the layer of inferencing and all the security, just Brian mentioned, on the data center. We are really strong on the cloud because we know that like many of the customers will use cloud. So if you look at from that perspective, it's literally bringing AI everywhere. So like, I mean, we are really excited to partner with Microsoft on that one. So going back, now it's the feature time. So I want to roll a second video just shortly about the AI PC. But what excites you most, Saurabh, on the like possibilities, and maybe now we get into some vertical experiences, like which industry will be impacted by this AI PC and AI at the edge?
Yeah, so one thing that we've been seeing a lot is that when workloads that are currently in the cloud, which is where sort of I think AI is born, right? You train the models using big clusters of GPUs, and if you want to have fastest time to market, they're still in the cloud, needless to say that. But when they're trying to migrate them to your PC client for many reasons, it could be connectivity, it could be security, it could be costs. Right? When you have these powerful machines in people's hand, you want to use them better. What they don't want is compromising on experience, so they want very high efficiency and good performance. They don't want to compromise on security. Mm-hmm. Security is extremely important. Yeah. The paradigms that we see in data center, isolation, virtualization that we just heard, bringing AI closer to the data, such paradigms are very much realizable on your PC also. So you may have heard of Windows Hello. It's a virtualization-based isolation technology. That lays foundation for AI security on a client platform too. You can read up a little bit more about that on the Microsoft page on Windows Copilot and Recall, right? So overall, the theme that I'm talking about is the PC of yesterday that we used to know has really gone through evolution, where cloud native workloads, where you were expecting big GPUs to be necessary, are now transitioning over to be able to run on your thin clients without sacrificing a whole lot on your battery life. So this is the really amazing demo that you're seeing right now. Again, this is running on a Lunar Lake platform. Look at the resolution of these photorealistic images. You would have seen these running on the cloud. These are all getting generated at 1x speed on your PC. This is unseen kind of things that you're seeing. This is, and you can look at the memory, you can look at the GPU usage. This is GPU of the future that you're seeing today in your small form factor. And it has taken us a lot of work working closely with Microsoft. In things like Brian was talking earlier, Onyx and Onyx Runtime, which Intel and Microsoft have partnered to create. So you have the flexibility of being developer ready, being efficient, without compromising the security, and be able to scale from your PC client to the cloud.
Yeah. What I like about this one is specifically, like, it also adds a sustainability layer because you don't have to go to like spin off any clusters on the cloud. You can just run your PC to achieve these tasks. Again, like if you look at the usage, it uses the GPU when it generates, it uses the NPU when there is anything with AI, but it's like really utilizing all the power that you have on your device
I think
itself.
You hit the nail on the head. Like you have a general purpose PC in your hand. That's what we used to know. This is a general purpose machine which can do a lot of things. It's not a one-trick pony here. So we have infused AI in your CPU and GPU and NPU. There are acceleration technologies which adapt with how you're working. It's not just one thing that is helping you go run fast on AI. It is the whole platform, the memory technologies, the TOPS that we have put in CPU, GPU, and NPU, which are all working together for delivering this kind of bleeding edge experience.
Perfect. Do you want to add something, Brian?
Well, I have a question. How many people are in finance out there, fintech? All right, we got fintech, healthcare. Healthcare. All right, so let's bring this down more to like a little bit real world to you. So we got nice pretty pictures up here. But what does that really mean? We can do these pretty pictures and you might need them, like some type of augmented generation for something you're doing, maybe cancer research or something else. But when we bring it down to usability, we can do natural language processing, NLP. So now when a doctor's doing an intake session or when you have, you're in the room with this doctor, it's listening to you, it's hearing what you're saying. And it's underneath HIPAA compliance, it's clean, it's clear, and it's taking your information in, and it's helping the doctor do root cause diagnostics with you and understanding these things. These are use cases that I've been involved in some of these more advanced research environments, and that's what's exciting about this. Again, this is showing you the horsepower, but the torque, what's going to really move this forward in your AI experiences, this is what we're looking to do. We are coming in. FinTech is another thing. So picture you being a trader on a floor, which I was. I was on a trading floor and I did tech, and it was brutal. But the bottom line is now the traders get to say, I'm looking for this ticker. I'm looking for it to move at this time, at this level, and I want to see these type of things. And the model is learning live, and it's training itself as the ticker feed goes. So now we're getting more live trading data that's not back and forth on and off the machine, but is staying local. So these type of powerful models, all what Saurabh's talking about and what he's done, and then what Microsoft's done with Copilot, the Copilot extensions, this is what we're going to start seeing is this is going to start baking in, it's going to be running on your machines, and it's going to be fast. And that's what's really exciting about it.
Absolutely. And
Nuri, if I
Go
may
ahead.
interject, I got super excited hearing about the FinTech example. I should have led with that too. I work very closely with our finance team, which do earnings reports, and you can imagine Intel is a big company. And we have presence in a lot of geographies. And it's very complex financial modeling they do. And this is very, very sensitive data. We have SEC and a whole lot of legal bindings to protect, and we cannot really let that data go out anywhere. So when I'm working with those data scientists, it used to take them days to be able to run some of those models. Now we have been able to cut down that significantly. Mm-hmm. Now it's a matter of less than an hour, and they're super happy using these newer machines. So I just got excited. So I thought, let me share
it is
that
exciting
story.
actually for everyone in this room because agentic AI is a topic that is really unfolding in front of our eyes. I think 2025 you will hear more about the agentic AI and AI agents. So what you can do literally is use your device to start that agent's journey, develop something, and on top of the Copilot Plus, you can enable experiences across the application. So especially for developers and IT professionals, this brings a great different view. And let me share the news. So if you come to the Intel stand tomorrow again from 11, 1, 3, or 5, and also the other day, you will get a free Intel Lunar Lake AI PC device, which is $1,200. So for your development needs, it's a huge, massive investment, I think, for you. It's just 60 minutes of your time. Just pass by the Intel booth, and you will get a hands-on experience with how to develop applications like many others that we mentioned. But you will take the device at home with you. So I think that's a good perk out of the Ignite conference as well. With that, I think we covered on the client side, but I want to go back to the data center side. So let's talk about the future. So what's your key call to actions and some hints about the future?
First of all, I want to highlight and underscore what he said about security a few minutes ago. One thing that I personally honestly horrifies me is when I'm talking with folks and they're talking about how great their 10-year-old hardware is. And I'm like, you think it's great. There's no TPM in there. It's missing a lot of hardware security, and it's in there. And there's only so much we can do in Windows Server when the hardware doesn't exist. So please, if you're running circa 2015, 2016 era hardware, and you're looking for a refresh, now is a good time because number one, all of that security stuff that we have been working on together around Secured Core Server to protect your workloads, all of your workloads, no matter what they are, of course your AI ones coming down the road, but protect them from the moment you hit the power button on the server, we are measuring and going through attestation through the entire boot process, UEFI firmware, all the way until we actually hand it over to the hypervisor where it does hypervisor code integrity and actually is protecting the OS and the kernel and the entire platform. There's just so much that we've been able to deliver because of the work that we have done together as the partners that we are, Intel and Microsoft. And so again, you may think that that system that you have from 2015 is really, really great, but it's missing a lot of these core features and capabilities. And that's not even talking about the core counts that have risen, the memory bandwidth that is incredibly higher, the PCIe bandwidth that is so much more available. And now, of course, you've got these AMX extensions to do AI, to do AI acceleration.
But wait, Jeff, are you telling me that if we use newer hardware in your platform, that I don't get those letters that my social security number's been broken into? Are you kidding me?
First of all, I always want people to upgrade to the latest version of Windows Server, but I die a little inside when someone says, I just put Windows Server 2025 on a system from 2017.
Right.
It's just like, oh. You don't know how much you're missing out.
Right.
You're in terms of performance and scalability and security, because there's only so much when we can do if the hardware is not available in the underlying platform. So number one, if you're looking at a refresh, now's a good time to do it. And then of course, if you haven't started evaluating Windows Server 2025, if you're a Microsoft Software Assurance customer, you already own it. So please start evaluating it immediately. If you're not a Software Assurance customer, you can download the evaluation bits and start playing with the latest and greatest things in 2025. And we've been talking about AI and GPUs and hot patching, but it's just chock full of features across the board, whether it's Hyper-V, Active Directory, SMB, file services, a new modern server experience, WinTerminal, WinGet, new cryptographic, new security, new hardened defaults, new firewall. I mean, it is a massive upgrade across the board. If you haven't started evaluating 2025, please do that immediately. And of course, you're going to get the AI infrastructure features like GPU-P, the support for the latest and greatest Intel hardware that we can support with AMX instructions and things like that.
That's amazing, because I think you really covered the business outcome. So every time, as marketers, we want to make sure we go with the business outcomes first. And you just mentioned it. I think the upgrade is not the thing. Getting the benefit of AI, getting the secure platform built in is the big outcome that everyone in this room will take the benefit out of that migration journey. Brian, do you want to add that?
Yeah, well, just to Joe here, right? I was at another presentation the other day with your team, and I asked the crowd, I said, how many people have turned on SQL Server always encrypted? Anybody here?
Anybody using SQL Server always encrypted?
I had one person in the other place raise their hand, one. And I'll tell you what, I said, how easy was it? He says, really easy. I was like, okay, let's turn it on. So.
Yeah. The on by default behavior is always the name of the game, by the way. So from a product management perspective, you have to choose those defaults carefully, because that's what most customers are going to use. But just in terms of the future, by the way, there's another angle. We've been talking about how do you have AI workloads come to this platform. But I actually think that there's a job role aspect to this as well, like a future thing to consider, which is how to make your team AI ready. We have so many database administrators and developers who have been using SQL Server for years and years, and hybrid is here to stay. So we will always have on-prem for a lot of the reasons that we've been discussing, like a lot of the compliance, sovereign, cloud. This will always be here, and yet you see a lot of the AI work starting in the cloud first. And so now we'll have this uniformity where each database administrator and developer will now have exposure to these primitives that are needed for these AI apps. So the part I'm most excited about is that this does not become just 10% of the workforce involved. It's the entire thing. So every DBA is an AI DBA, and I think I'm most excited about that.
That's
If
awesome.
I may add something
Please.
here, right? So you heard about upgrading the hardware, and you heard about AI. What really excites me hearing about the SQL news is you're bringing AI closer to your data. And we all know these big relational databases, there's a cost associated with migrating it. And being able, if you have to apply AI away from the data, it's not going to be performant, it's going to be expensive. And the kind of AI we have infused in our Xeon processors, we have AMX, which is a matrix multiply accelerator, which is very important for the vector searches that we are doing, the similarity search algorithm that we are bringing in. We've added a lot of memory efficiencies. We have higher bandwidth, we have bigger caches. All of that along with the compute extra compute that we have fit in, that overall is what will really get you have a more performant AI-infused experience of these SQL updates that we just heard.
And one thing to go with that, we've been remiss, I know we've been focused on AI, but there's also a sustainability component to all of this.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing people as they're going through the process now of like basically investing in new hardwares, I'm easily seeing people going from 3 racks to a half rack, just because of pure core count and memory bandwidth available and flash storage. You can be far more efficient than you can on some of that older hardware. So that's another huge benefit, just power, cooling, as well as efficiency. And guess what? They're going from 3 racks to a half rack and getting a performance boost all at the same time. So that's a great story. And again, it's a great one for sustainability as well.
Absolutely. So thanks for highlighting that. So I think just looking at the last 5 minutes, I want to end with some call to action. But like, I mean, we discussed AI today and near future, but also like in the upcoming future, which is not too far, we will be talking about artificial general intelligence. So I think all the companies on the world are trying to find out like when and how we reach AGI. And of course, it starts with the basics like sustainability, security, and all this like in the environment, especially for enterprises. We want to make sure we really provide that platform as a built-in, so like you don't have to worry about the rest. So with that, maybe I will start with you, Saurabh, on like any call to action to the audience that you want to highlight.
Too many to list. So Copilot Plus is out. You know, Microsoft done a tremendous job in raising awareness around it and the experiences that they bring in. I think you can refer to that page to know when those experiences will become GA. This device that we're talking about, Lunar Lake, this is really a revolutionary device. It's a huge upgrade. Today we had a lot of people come to our booth and were saying battery life is very important to them. These are folks from the business
Personally,
side.
I have a Dell XPS 13. I did charge in Seattle for the last 3 days. I didn't charge it. It's still like more than half. So it is like, I think 36 hours of working battery life. So that's just like amazing. Exactly. And again, like I'm just like trying not to find you a holiday gift for your loved ones, but if you are really interested in the technology, I haven't been purchased a device for a long time. I was like, the first day it was available on Best Buy, I just went. It's not a company device. I personally bought it. I'm super happy. And I think if you attend the Intel workshop tomorrow, you will hands-on see the value of like the NPU, CPU, GPU, but also the battery power on the laptops.
It's necessary to future-proof yourself too,
exactly.
Right? So you have really a cloud-ready PC, and which has all the security, the efficiencies, and the developer readiness. Right?
Awesome.
You don't need to recompile. You have to 20-year-old application. It will run faster than what you
I will switch to order. Joe, like any call to action on your end for the audience?
Yes, please. SQL Server 2025, I would love to get your feedback. Private preview was just announced, aka.ms, SQL EAP sign up. But if you search on SQL Server 2025, you'll find the sign up link. You'll actually have folks from our team review and onboard you. And again, the feedback will be valuable. I think that this is a pretty exciting, I'm excited to learn more about AI, and I know a lot of my colleagues have been along the way, so I'm excited for this to be expanded with our SQL Server population. Yeah.
Jeff, over to you.
I would just say, you know, taking a step back, experiment, have fun. I know that whenever some new technology comes out, people kind of give a little side eye and are a little skeptical. I got to say, I really use it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And there's a lot of different use cases. I know you've been generating pictures and showing some real use cases. By the way, I do that. I use it for generating images for like PowerPoint decks and stuff like that. It's fantastic what you can do and what you can generate. But I also use it just for emails, for documentation. I'll write a paragraph or two, and guess what? I want to tweak that a little bit. Copilot, go look at this. Oh, that's a much better way to do it. I'm going to use a couple sentences. Sometimes I'll maybe use the whole thing. But most of the time, it's like, give me a couple sentences here. Now it's perfect, okay? Also, for sysadmins and IT pros, boy, you know what? It really helps with automation. You know what? I need a PowerShell script that's going to do this. I can go sit down and figure it out, or I can go into Copilot and say, hey, you know what? Give me a PowerShell script that shows all the domain controllers in this domain. Boom, there it is. Copy and paste. And so you're going to see it just, there's so much rich things that you can do, and the power is going to just continue. I know when you couple Copilot with SQL Server, I get really excited about the ability for it to help you with SQL queries and things like that.
By the way, Aaron Stellato will kill me if I don't mention this. SQL Server Management Studio Copilot was also one of the announcements that we made. We also have another
That was a great
integration
news.
there.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we are just on time, but like Brian, bring us home.
Just one big call to action, folks. The day of being behind a firewall and being safe is gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's completely gone. And we're not just trying to say this is scary, but it's real. I've been in many places underneath some NDAs, and I would just say it's time, and we're here to help and support. And please reach out, honestly, on LinkedIn. We're very responsive, and we'll help you get to the next level.
With that, round of applause for our panelists. If you have any questions, we will be here. But thanks a lot for joining, and we will take the questions. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.